Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a interview with John Tooth. He's at BoomBet, and John will take us through his experience with Jira. So hope you find it interesting, and let's move across to that now. So John, thanks for joining the channel today. Welcome. Do you want to give everyone a quick introduction to yourself?
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for the opportunity to have a chat. So my name's John Tooth. I'm currently the CTO for an online wagering company called BoomBet. I've got many years' experience, as the lack of hairs and grey hairs will testify to, all across IT through various verticals and various levels of mainly development, moving into technology sort of leadership in the last 15 to 20 years. And yeah, that's about it, really.
Very good, very good. So there's a bunch of questions I want to ask and share with our viewers. So the first is to describe, you brought Jira into the business to use for a specific reason. So what was the reason? What was perhaps the business problem, or what were you seeking to address by using Jira?
Yeah, okay, so we are looking to grow. We've been around for 15 years, I think, in one guise or another, but we're now starting to operate like a startup. We've got very big ambitions to grow and to develop more of our own technology. With my experience, I sort of realized that the time to prepare for that growth is before you start growing, because once you start, the train starts to run away and there's no chance to find the bandwidth you need to actually retrofit these things. So I wanted something that would scale with us, put some structure and some discipline in place that we're going to need moving forward. I've got some experience with Jira. So Sydney Water was my previous role. We used Jira quite heavily there in the development space. There's probably two elements to it. One is to make the developers' lives clearer. I was going to say easier, but that's never easy, but it's going to make it clearer. So when you've got a small team, it's quite easy to tell each person, what their priorities are, what's next, etc. As you get to scale, then obviously there's lots more things to do. There's lots more input from different people on what the priorities should be. And Jira gives us a way of operating queues for different teams that give prioritized views of the world of what we should be looking at next. So if they come to a natural stop on something or they finish something, they know what's next without waiting to be told or waiting to ask somebody. And Jira gives you that flexibility with the ability to sort of add fields in to do extra priorities, extra statuses, all those sorts of things that you might need as a business to give everyone the information they need to know which ticket to pick up next, if that makes sense. And then from the management perspective, we want to know what's going on with everything at all times. Now, at the moment, when you've got half a dozen people, you can just ask them, but that becomes A, an overhead for the people, and then B, as that team gets bigger, it takes longer to ask everybody what they're up to and what they're doing. So the reporting in Jira gives you the ability to actually dashboard these things. You can see the status of what activities are in motion, what are in progress, what are in the pipeline, what's in the next release, what's ready to deploy. All those different statuses that we like to work with are all available via dashboard. So if I want to get an update on the status at 9 o'clock at night, I just go look at Jira dashboards. I don't need to phone somebody up and say, oh, where are we at with this piece of work or that piece of work.
Did you have any challenges in adopting Jira the way you wanted it to be used?
Yes. Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is the challenge you put upon yourself to want perfection from day one. So you try and plan out exactly what it's going to look like. So, right, this is what I want it to do. Now, your frame of reference for that is what you've already used in the past and what you've already done. So the processes and the procedures where you've worked before, tools you've used, you sort of put all those together and say, okay, this is what I want it to do. History tells you that when you start going down that path, somewhere down that path, you think, actually, now I understand a bit more about how this tool can work. That end state's probably not the correct end state. So at the start, that was the mentality I had. This is what I want to do end to end. And when I started working with a consultant, started talking to him, and he said, My advice would be build what you know and wait on the rest of it. So what you're certain about that you need, and which in our case was just, let's just log tickets of different types, and we'll have no automation, no workflow, no anything. I'll just move them around manually. Let's just get that part working. Then we'll understand more about what automation we want and what workflows we're going to need and what statuses we might want within those. And that was gold, to be honest, because where I thought I wanted to be was not where I want to be, because I didn't know what Jira really did or could do. I know what I'd seen Jira do because of the way we'd set it up at Sydney Water. So that was really good advice. And so it was a challenge that I avoided because I engaged some assistance from someone who'd been through this a few times before, which was really, really helpful. So I think that's the thing I would think about if I was bringing Jira on board. Don't bite off too much. Just think about your base tickets. Even my base tickets, I think I had about 8 different types of base ticket in my head, and I think we're down to 3. So we've just adapted those to say it's either one of these, it's a new feature, a bug, or a service request. I think are the 3 things we've got, and I think we added a 4th, which is just an idea, because we want to try and foster some innovation. So we want somewhere for people to log an idea if they think of a better way of doing something, be it business or IT. Then we log it in the system. And that's probably something else I forgot to say at the start, is we're not just using this for IT. So business process changes, new business ideas are all going into the Jira platform as well. And we're using it as a one view of the world of all the work we've got on our plate as a business. And then the different teams can use what they want for their day-to-day, but this is just the overall view of where we're at. So I think that's the challenge that I luckily avoided, is just not to bite off too much to start with. Think about the knowns, then build those, and then the rest will start to sort of fight the back of that.
And how long has it been since started with Jira at BoomBet?
Pretty much about a year, I reckon. I think, yeah. So I've been in the job for about 15 months, and I think I got my feet under the table for a month or 2 before I talked to you actually about what you can do in that space for me. And I think we started off around about the end of the year. I think I launched it in January internally, just to get people to start logging tickets for things rather than just send me a message and saying, I think this is broken, that's broken.
So today, have you achieved kind of what you set out to, or you happy with what you're getting from Jira?
Yeah, I am actually. We've built it up now to the state where we've got the portal set up. So we have the user portal for the teams to go in and log whatever they need to log. We have a process in the back end where we triage those, make sure it's not a duplicate. If it is, we merge them together. If it isn't, we'll put it in the relevant teams queue. Got all of our filters set up, so each team can just look at their filter to see what's in their queue. Got a bit of a workflow going on as well. For P1s, we have notifications as well. So if someone logs a P1, we've been very clear with the team that that's just a system down type thing, so something that stops us from operating, then the C levels plus the head of engineering all get emailed instantly when that happens, whatever time of day or night. So it just gives us a bit of a prompt that we've got a major issue. So that's working really well. And people are really buying into it, which is good. So even the team amongst themselves, you see chatter on Teams, and someone will say something, and someone will say, "Oh yeah, you logged it." And, "Oh no, not yet." "Okay, we'll go and log it." And so it's a good discipline for everybody, so that just mentioning it doesn't get it done. Logging your ticket will get it done.
So how would you quantify the benefit? And that quantifying it is different for different people and different organisations. So how do you quantify the benefit you've achieved so far?
So at the moment, it's probably mainly in time. So what was happening before is there's multiple meetings going ahead because we were sort of telling each team what their priorities were. So here's your top 5 things. When you finish number 1, or get stuck on number 1, move on to number 2, 3, 4, whatever. That now has become a lot less time consuming, because we go in and we just review the list in each area and we reprioritize if we need to. So whoever's in that team can just look at the list, they can see the priorities, and they know they've been updated. Normally a fortnightly basis. We try not to update too frequently, because that could be counterproductive if you over tweak these things. So that's been a real boon for us. And the other one is really just getting status updates. Our boss is a detail man. He likes to know what's going on in certain areas. So he'll ask me, I'll ask the team. That's 2 or 3 conversations saved because we've got people into the discipline of updating the Jiras now. And we can just read off the status in the Jira and know exactly where we're at.
If you reflect then on the last year or so, would you do anything differently?
No, I wouldn't actually, but only because I work with a gentleman called Kale, who obviously works for your organisation. Because I engaged him early, I saved myself a lot of heartache. I think had I started on my own before engaging somebody, then I would be having a few changes. I would be saying to you, yes, I need to take off smaller chunks, because my view was to just build this big thing straight away and then launch it. Whereas actually the piecemeal build, the piecemeal launch taught me so much about what you can do in Jira, what you can't do, and what we actually need as a business. We actually just work with the basic service ITSM workflow. That covers 85% of our activity. So I would not even have thought that before I started. I would have built 10 or 12 different types of request, but actually we could amend our business to use that core request with a couple of additional fields that suit us, but nothing too major. So I think, I wouldn't do anything differently just because I got lucky. I picked a good partner to go with to start with, and that's not just because you're on the call. It's because I actually got somebody who understands the product, and I think I'd advise anyone else to do the same.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. And you kind of almost answered my last question, which was, what advice would you give anyone who was wanting to, address similar issues? So you've had some great advice throughout the conversation. Is there any other remaining advice you might give to someone?
No, not really. I just don't be too set in your ways about what you think you want, because human nature is that you'll fall back on what you've experienced yourself. Actually just take a step back and look at what the tool can give you and see if that's enough, and see how you can make that the 80-20 in your favor, rather than making it 80-20 changed to adapt to your process you currently have. These tools have been around for a long time and don't change that much. And when they do change, there's a reason for change. So there's obviously something in it that best practice is working for everybody. So don't try and over customize it, would be my advice. Also look at it on the big picture. Are you going to interact it with other tools? Are you going to advance the whole suite to be part of your ecosystem like we are? And just look at that up front before you start, and just understand what's available for you and what your options are for getting to those solutions.
Very good, very good. Well, listen, John, that's kind of all I wanted to run through. I really appreciate your time. I think it's been a really useful conversation for anyone to listen to. Thanks very much for joining us on the channel, and I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, John. Great for the chat.
Cheers.
See you soon. Cheers.
Okay, so that was it with our conversation with John Tooth. Look, I hope you found that useful and interesting. Some really good advice and some useful information there. So just remember to subscribe to the channel, help us grow and create some more useful content for you. And I hope you can join us next time. Bye-bye.